Hey, Marilyn. Hey, we're excited to be here today with Pastor Scott Longyear and our week 5 of our Commit series. And we're talking about community. And you talked today about how community is with unity. And so it's all about unity. So one of the questions for our small groups out there to be able to kind of help them talk through and work through, hey, how do I handle living in community, is dealing with people who may be disunifying or creating disunity. So talk to me and us about how do you handle, and I would say in 2 environments, how do you handle someone who's disunifying in the context of the church, meaning like with other believers? Maybe it's in a small group, maybe it's in a ministry, maybe it's with a group of friends, but they're Christian. And then the second is dealing with people who are disunifying, but maybe it's not Christian people. Maybe it's family, or maybe it's work environment, somewhere outside the church. How do you respond to that?
Man, that's throw me a tough one, I guess. I would think I think for both, I would say make sure that you're not. Pastor Nick talks a lot about not writing the narrative for somebody. So when disunity comes, you automatically feel hurt, and you automatically begin to think the worst about them or why they did that. And a lot of times when people are causing disunity, I don't think they're being malicious. I don't think they're laying awake at night going like, this is how I'm going to get them. Now, some people, but I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, a lot of people don't know what their actions are causing. So if it's inside of the church, I think you had, like you and I are great friends, and we've had points where we've had to stop and go like, wait a minute, man, I feel like there's a little bit of attention here, and maybe I did something that I didn't even realize, or you did something you didn't even realize. But we've got that common basis of now we're going after Christ, right? And you can talk in those circles, you can talk about, hey, I'm not sure that this was Christ-like, or that this honored Christ or anything. But there's ways, I tell people all the time, there are ways to say the hard things in an easy way, so it's like, hey,
It's like truth and love.
Yeah. I could come in and say like, man, when you did that really split us apart. What are you thinking? Or I could say like, hey, you probably don't realize this at all, but when you said or did that, it made me feel this way. Now, probably some of that's my issue because I've got some past origin stuff or family origin I got to deal with, but so I'm kind of giving you the benefit of the doubt too, because most likely you weren't malicious and meant to do that. Now, for those outside of the church, like whether it's a family or an office situation or something, I think you have to ask, what's the basis for the unity? Is it corporate unity? Hey, we're going this same direction. We decided on a team we were doing this, and you didn't do that, and so it disunified the team. So it's kind of what's that thing you're headed towards? And then sometimes with family, man, that's just really, really tough. But again, I think there are people who don't realize what they're doing, and so I would bring it up in that way. But you have to stop and ask yourself too, like, is the potential collateral damage worth bringing this up? Now, in a church, it is. In a family, I don't know. I think you got to weigh some of that out. I don't know.
Sometimes maybe you apply grace and just say, hey, I know where they're coming from. I know who they are in their heart, giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to write a narrative. Do you think it's okay sometimes to not address stuff and just give grace?
I think you need to pray through that, because there's been some times, like I'm a guy, I'm a high relational guy. So if we're out of sorts, like I want it solved right now. And there have been times where I've had people really close to me that I felt out of sorts with, and I've wanted to go and not have it out, but I wanted to have the conversation so we could get things ironed out. And the Lord said no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. So I think you've just got to like pay attention to what's the Lord saying. And for me, I just had to step back, and the Lord was like, let me do my work. Don't get in the middle of what I'm doing yet. So you just got to really listen to the Lord, whether he wants to pull you out of being a chicken and having hard conversations, or he wants to keep you from really making a situation even more explosive.
And I think sometimes unity as well can be difficult because you can't control someone else. That's not what we're called to do. There's a control factor. Hey, once I've approached it, once I've addressed it, sometimes there's not anything else you can do except to pray and say, hey, God, now in this situation, you have your way in it. And if you can change hearts, or you can change direction. And I think a lot of times if there is unity, the one who's causing disunity sticks out.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if there's unity among everyone, they're going to kind of like stick out as a sore thumb. And people are going to realize that and not want to bring that into the circle because it's creating division. So
Yeah. And Scripture says, as much as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone.
right.
So you've got to do your part and then just kind of say, okay, Lord, I tried.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, so week 5 on our Commit series, talking about community. We live in community, so encourage you guys to have some great conversation about what does that look like for you, what are some of the things maybe you struggle with in it, and also what are the benefits in living in community with people and just living an open, true life as God would ask us to do. Have a great week.